Up to you.
All right, thank you so much, Ginger. It has almost been a year since Hurricanes Harvey, Maria, and Irma destroyed so many communities. But thanks to the generous efforts of supermodel Petra Nemcova and her charity All Hands and Heart Smart Response, children and families are able to recover and rebuild, and want to welcome Petra Nemcova to the show. Good to see you. And it was only last week that we announced here on the show that Puerto Rico finally had power restored to all the residents there. You're doing so much for these areas, but obviously there's still so much to do. What's the one thing that people still really need? Because it is not over.
It's definitely not over, and it takes about 5 years for families to get back on their legs after natural disasters. And we have been with All Hands and Hearts in Texas after Hurricane Harvey, in St. Thomas, St. John, in Dominica, in Puerto Rico, and out of all these locations, the one which has the biggest need is actually Puerto Rico, because there have been over 166,000 homes severely damaged, and 55% of them, they don't have the proper title, which means they're not going to get the help from FEMA, and that means that they need to find solutions by themselves. We are in Puerto Rico in 3 locations with our volunteers working 6 days a week, 8-10 hours a day. We have helped over 447 homes and more to go, but the need is there because the government of Puerto Rico actually last week also announced that just for housing they need 30 billion and they have less than 1 billion. So the gap is humongous, and that's why having volunteers and support from our donors, it's so crucial. And we started work in Puerto Rico with Frank Justra and Rockefeller Foundation to give us a start, but it's a long road. It's going to take up to 5 years. It is definitely
a long road, and that's what your charity does. They step in, they stay there for the long term.
Yes.
It's not short term, but you mentioned volunteers, and for volunteers, it goes beyond just hammers and nails for these volunteers.
100%. We just in Puerto Rico, we had volunteers from 59 nationalities, over in different locations, over 102 nationalities, and they come from all over the world. They give their love, they give their time, they give their sweat, and to rebuild concrete results in the shapes of homes and schools. But beyond that, they help the families and the children with emotional healing. And as you can imagine, if you lose your home where you lived for 40 years, where your children were born, and you have no more strength because you are 70 years old, and you have nobody to turn to, people get depressed, and you see lots of suicides as well happening. So our volunteers are there, and we always tell them, if a homeowner wants to talk to you, sit down and listen. And so we are providing physical rebuilding of homes and schools in disaster resilient way, but beyond that we are providing hope and emotional healing, because they can see changes are happening and in front of their eyes, and that gives them hope and strength to go on.
Hope and strength to go on, for sure. And just want to remind people that these places aren't rebuilt in a few weeks. They aren't rebuilt in a few months. This is a long-term rebuilding, and they can go to allhandsandhearts.org.
That's right.
If they want to give and you want to help out. It's still,
I'm volunteer.
Right now, Petra Nemcova, thank you so much.